Hello to all of you. Thank you for joining us. This is our new live series of talks with Dr. Michael Leitman. Hello. This is show number 1245, and we would like to talk to Dr. Leitman about all sorts of insights that we as people gained during the time of the corona pandemic, and mostly about how to carry them forward to our daily routines and lead our lives in a new direction. So, Leitman, if I look at this time of the corona pandemic, I think the main thing he taught us as people is that we need to pay attention to our behavior because we influence each other. Very simply, we have to make sure not to infect each other. We have to make sure not to contract the disease. You have to be careful who you come close to, what you touch, and so on. Everything became much more complicated. And as a result, it seems that some sensitivity developed in a person, which he didn't have before, towards his interactions with everyone else, inside the home, outside the home, whether he knows them, whether they're strangers. The question is, how do we advance from here and begin to develop ourselves as creatures with social intelligence? So we were made used to wearing a mask in order to protect someone else in terms of health. So how to carry it forward? Dr. Leitman, also not in order to catch an illness ourselves. Oh, and yes, but studies show that it protects others more than it protects yourself when you wear a mask. So one thing we learned is that I can limit myself in a way, and by that I do good to others. The question is, if we continue to develop our social intelligence, not our individual IQs, not my own emotional intelligence, but rather our social intelligence. And how would we like to see ourselves? I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a person whose social intelligence developed to a higher level. How does he approach the society in which he lives, works, and so on? With what thoughts, with what attitude, with what intelligence? Dr. Leitman, look, it depends on the society he's in. If he is in our current society, what we see out in the street, well, that's an egoistic society. It's very harsh. Every individual cares only for himself in a very absolute and crude manner. And so, a person who understands that the society has to behave in a completely opposite way, it's difficult for him to get along in such a society. He somehow enters into... well, he becomes more restrained, closes himself off a bit. Oh, and okay, so let's be a little more positive and try to imagine human society advancing a step forward. Let's say that we learned something from the time of the corona pandemic and our social intelligence, for all of us as humanity, develops. I want to go into that picture and to find some details in it and elements. Let's say we are all a little more socially intelligent. Dr. Leitman, all of us. Oh, and yes, all of us. Let's start to define this creature. It's an upgraded creature, right? It has abilities which I today do not have. So how does a person with high social intelligence behave? How does he understand things? How does he relate to things? Dr. Leitman, he's in a state where everything he does is in the best interests of others. Oh, and what feeling does he give others around him? Dr. Leitman, that it's good to be around him, that he doesn't occupy space, right? He doesn't occupy the space. Around him there is enough space for everyone also. Owen, so what does he do with his intelligence different to others? What does he do different to the way people behave today? Dr. Leitman, he doesn't attack others, he's humble, he's not crude in his spirit. He knows what's good for others and he tries to do good to them. He, of course, is never harmful to others. And he leaves everyone with the impression that it's good to be next to him. Owen, when he looks at other people and identifies their weaknesses or things people are strong at, what does he do when he identifies these data, the weaknesses and strengths of others? Dr. Leitman. It's simply good for him to be in a good relationship with everyone. And how does he use his own abilities? Dr. Leitman. He uses his abilities in order to make this impression, give others the impression that he's good for them. Owen. How does he respond when he finds himself in a conflict, in a state of conflict? Dr. Leitman, he immediately tries to calm things down, first of all. I don't think that he goes between the conflicting parties and starts making peace there. No, that's a problem which, well, it depends on his personal abilities, but in fact, all of his work in his life, in the world, of course, other than for maintaining his house, his home, his family, everything he does is to do good to others. Okay, so let's take a person with high emotional intelligence. What is he? What does he have? Dr. Leitman, he has the ability to explain to others how they need to live their lives without pressure, without pressuring them, perhaps even through example, and to try to assist. And this new approach he developed to life, how does it assist him personally in his, to succeed in life? Dr. Leitman, that's his definition of success in life. And what exactly? Dr. Leitman, the fact that he can help others see life correctly. And so his scale is not in his own home court, right? It becomes much more expansive. What does this expansion allow him? Dr. Leitman, he understands that this is best for humanity, best for nature, best for everyone. He understands that you need nothing more but to complete the nature of the man, so that like the inanimate, vegetative, and animate degrees, the speaking degree will have good interactions, good connection, mutual connection. And why? Dr. Leitman, because by that you achieve balance with nature as a whole. And is this ecology, is that important? Dr. Leitman, it's not about the ecology. He understands that by this he is following the commandment of the upper force. Please explain yourself. Dr. Leitman, by helping humanity become more rounded, more properly interconnected in the mutual reciprocal way where people connect together, by that he promotes them towards the general nature where the inanimate, vegetative, and animate degrees, and now humans as well, enter into a good, positive connection between them and feel that they are perfect and whole and eternal. They feel good. So a person with high social intelligence, will he have a better life than a person with lower social intelligence? Dr. Leitman, of course. And why? Dr. Leitman, because it fulfills him. And what fulfills him? Dr. Leitman, he's facilitating the correction of the world. And how does that fulfill him? Dr. Leitman, internally. And what does he feel? Dr. Leitman, he feels that he completes nature. And this is nice. So he feels that he's completing nature through his relationships with others. Dr. Leitman, yes, he causes others to connect, and he causes others to connect, and throughout all degrees in nature, inanimate, vegetative, animate, and human, he causes all these degrees to connect as one. So back to one's interactions with people around him. A person with high social intelligence, how does he manage his relationships with people around him? Dr. Leitman, it depends on the state he's in, on the society, on the times. It's not... but in any case, you could say he makes it so that they gain knowledge about the method of correction, the method of achieving balance, and get a positive impression from it, and also comport themselves accordingly and arrange their environment accordingly. And so I want to suggest several social situations and try to use them to learn about social intelligence. Let's say that I'm a person with high social intelligence. In the morning, I come to my workplace. I have my colleagues around me, my managers. There are people who I manage. And the fact that I have high social intelligence, how does it change my perspective on what's happening in my workplace? What do I see that a person with a lower degree of social intelligence does not see? Dr. Leitman, with your high social intelligence, you see how to organize the company, the society that you are entering now, such that they are better connected together and so succeed in their work and everything they do in that society or the company. Owen, when I speak with my kids about what happens with them at school, and I have a high degree of social intelligence, how can I help my children succeed on a level where a person with low social intelligence can't? What can I add to them? What kind of perspective or discernment? Dr. Leitman, how to behave correctly in the society, the social situation at school, although it's very, very difficult. As we know, children are usually very cruel. But I help them, I teach them how to properly relate to others in such a way where they don't harm you and where they even want to be your friends. Owen, a person with high emotional, or rather social intelligence, how does he define success? Dr. Leitman, making peace between people. Owen, will he cause that peace? Dr. Leitman, yes. Owen, so what does he do in order to generate peace, to Dr. Leitman, he gives an example. He explains in some way, that this is the general law of nature, and we need to all be connected together with in good relationships, and this guarantees to us a good existence, a good life from nature and also from people. He explains the global integral system to everyone. Of course, not according to his own level, according to their level. And so he attracts people. He causes them to be connected to this system in an active way. Owen, a person with such high social intelligence does the way he speaks to others, does it change? Do his interactions with others change? What exactly does he do different? Dr. Leitman, he gives these people an example of how to behave with each other. He is the example. And so it multiplies. Owen, what do you mean that he's the example? Dr. Leitman, the way he behaves with people, by that he wants to give them an example of how to behave. But I'm talking about the common man who is... and of course, let's say we succeed, never mind want, let's advance. Let's say we succeed in giving our children a high degree of social intelligence. How does a child who has high social intelligence behave? How does he behave in comparison to a child with low social intelligence? What can he do that the other child cannot? Dr. Leitman, intelligence doesn't depend on the brain. It depends on inner development. The extent to which the child sees he can do good to others, and by that do good to himself, and so it's worthwhile for him to behave that way. He has such examples. He has a certain case of examples of how to do these things, and then he acts them out, because wherever he may be, in every place, he has some questions, some friction, all sorts of behaviors, and he knows how to He knows how to pull all sorts of advice from his case and behave accordingly. Oh, and so he has he has models of behavior for different cases, right? You said that it doesn't depend on his mental acuity. Dr. Lightman, no, it's not the brain. This is what he was taught, how to behave. Oh, and so social intelligence doesn't rely only on the intellect. So what else does it rely on? Dr. Lightman, on the law of behavior, the teachings of proper behavior, it can be a person who is not intelligent, a very regular child, but he simply knows that it's preferable to behave this way, it's advisable to behave that way. That's it. Social intelligence exists in animals instinctively. Oh, and what do you mean? Dr. Lightman, they know how to behave with each other instinctively in a way that's good for them, good for the environment, in order to be harmless, to succeed more and gain more. Oh, and we as people, Dr. Lightman, we don't know. The animals do. Oh, and amazing. So you say that animals have built-in social intelligence. Dr. Lightman, you see, they even complement each other. Oh, and so in that respect, we are less socially intelligent than animals? Dr. Lightman, of course, of course. Oh, and it's a bit insulting. Dr. Lightman, you're insulted by being told that you behave worse than animals? Oh, and the human being with his IQ developed so much in the world. Okay, so certainly there are bad things, of course, but you say that we need to acquire social intelligence, which in animals it's instinctive and we need to develop it. So let's define it. What do we lack that every other animal has in our interactions, in our connections with others? Dr. Lightman, each animal has this inner knowledge of how to connect with the inanimate, vegetative and animate degrees in the world. And the human being doesn't have that, doesn't know how to connect properly with the inanimate, vegetative and animate degrees in our world. He doesn't have that. For them, it's an instinct. And for us, we have no such instinct. Owen, so what should we do? Dr. Lightman, why don't we have such an instinct? For us to complete ourselves by ourselves. Owen, what do we need to complete? Dr. Lightman, we need to complete ourselves with the proper behavior, proper communication. Owen, okay, what is proper communication, proper connection? Dr. Lightman, through to love thy friend as thyself, but at least to do no harm to others, to the inanimate, vegetative, and animate degrees, and to people, and to try to create good mutual relationships with them. Owen, why did nature create us as beings where this love, this knowledge of connection, you define social intelligence as the knowledge of how to interact with other things, right? People and also the inanimate objects and vegetables and then animals, right? Yes. So why did nature give every other entity this social intelligence and not to us? Dr. Lightman, so that we develop it ourselves, so that we become truly intelligent. Oh, and what do you mean truly intelligent? Dr. Lightman, if we connect correctly to the inanimate, vegetative, animate, and human degrees, we, through this interaction, which goes against our evil inclination, by that we will come to know the general force that's inherent in the whole of reality, the power of good, the power that connects all of humanity, and within it the degree of the inanimate and the degrees of the inanimate, vegetative, and animate. Oh, and how does this relate to social intelligence? Dr. Lightman, as it is written, you shall be as God, knowing good and bad. Oh, and how will this affect our interactions? Dr. Lightman, we will interact only positively. Oh, and why? Dr. Lightman, because by that we connect to the whole of the integral global nature, and we feel ourselves as being in an eternal nature and whole. Dr. Lightman. Oren, do animals feel all that? Dr. Lightman. No, they have an instinct that teaches them how to behave in every instance. Owen, so the fact that we don't have this instinct to know how to relate correctly to others, this gives us potential for development that other creatures don't have? Dr. Lightman, yes. Owen, so let's say we take it a bit forward, a little bit, not much. How will a person function within human society? What kind of socially intelligent behaviors will we see that we do not see today? Dr. Lightman, we will begin to see how we're all connected to each other and to all the lesser degrees of nature, the inanimate, vegetative and animate degrees. We will see how we need to help each other. And together, all of us, all of nature, in this reciprocity where we connect all the parts together, through that we will discover the upper force, which cannot be revealed because it doesn't a place in which to be revealed. It's only when we make these connections, tie things together in nature. That system is the divine system of nature, and we will acquire it and live within it. Owen, that was a nice action there, sewing things together, tying them together. So that's a person with a high social intelligence. He knows how to sew things together, to weave. What does he weave? Dr. Lightman, connections between people. Owen, and what does this have to do with this general force of the world? Dr. Lightman, those connections themselves are called the nature of God. It's advancement in wisdom, in connection, in receiving and giving. It's all in that system. Oh, and what's the connection between such intelligence and emotion? Dr. Lightman, emotion complements knowledge or intellect, and intellect complements the emotion, the sentiment, and both are called mind and heart. And we build the system out of that. And then, as it is written, and you have made me. Oh, and I have a slightly unpleasant question. Let's see what you say. It is said that in order to be a good salesperson, you need to be, first of all, very sensitive and also very intelligent. And when you're taught the method for making a sale, there are 4 stages. And there's one stage called approaching, coming close. Because if you don't approach and feel the person in front of you, it won't help whatever you do if you try to push something on him. So why did I remember this concept of the salesperson now? Because you said that you need a combination of brain and heart. Good salesmen have that, but it still doesn't make them good people. Dr. Lightman, yes, because it's powered by the ego. They want to exploit others. They don't want to do good to others. And that's the whole mistake there, where they fall. They fall into. Oh, and so as far as you're concerned, do they have high or low social intelligence? Dr. Lightman, I don't even know how to put it. As far as I'm concerned, it's very low, very inferior, primitive. He's entirely immersed in the stinking ego, and no, I can't relate to that. If a person approaches others just to sell him something, that's not good. Oh, and so how is it good to relate to others? Or in what is the good way? Dr. Lightman, to see how I can help. Oh, and this is the way to relate to people through high social intelligence? When a person sees a person who is weaker than himself, how does he relate? Dr. Lightman, he wants to assist, to support. Oh, and when he sees a person who's stronger than himself, how does he relate? Dr. Lightman, he gives him advice in how to relate to others. Oh, and what does a person do with high social intelligence? What does he add to the society in which he lives? Dr. Lightman, he needs to help them develop. He needs to be supportive of the society and so to advance with them together, to constantly support them. Owen, and what is the essence of that support? Dr. Lightman, it's all through advice and example. Oh, and what, he becomes a kind of a psychologist to the people around him? Dr. Lightman, yes, I suppose like a psychologist, let's call it. And also he keeps supporting them through his actions. He is with them. He is even walking ahead of them like a guide, perhaps. It depends on the society. Owen, so a person is born with a certain IQ. One is born a genius, one is born less of a genius. In order to develop social intelligence, does a person require a certain level of IQ, or is there a certain threshold? Or can anyone develop social intelligence as he is? Dr. Lightman, anyone and everyone, because each one has his role to play, and each one must fulfill his role. There is no person without whom the society can be whole. Owen, well, that's beautiful. So really, even the Dr. Lightman, each and everyone, and in that everyone are equals, because if it's a complete system, an ideal system, yes, then even if the smallest screw is missing there, without that screw the machine won't work. Oh, and so last question, you made that motion of sewing, the knowledge of connection, the knowledge of weaving ourselves together. Let's say we become more intelligent and know how to weave ourselves together. What will our society look like? Dr. Lightman, everyone knows who to turn to for help, who needs help. Everyone are interdependent, everyone are interconnected. It's so nice to live that way. It's nice, it's good to live that way. Owen, so it's good to live that way. So what is social intelligence? Dr. Lightman, social intelligence is to feel and to know in mind and heart how I can be the most useful to the society. Oh, and thank you very much, Dr. Lightman. Thank you all for being with us.